Hey book friends, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to today's video. So I am going to do a wrap up of what I read in October. And I haven't been doing as many monthly wrap ups as I have in the past, but I really wanted to do October because this was the month that my sister picked my TBR, and I will link the video up above. And so this is the wrap up where I asked the question of like, how did she do? Does she know my reading taste? So join me for my October reading wrap up. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to the channel if you're new here, or welcome back if you've been coming for a while. So like I said, we're doing a reading wrap up of the month of October. And honestly, you guys, it's the best reading month I've had probably all year. It is full of only 4 and 5-star books. And so if the question is, did my sister pick good books for me? Yes. Yes is the answer. She did a wonderful job. And odds are I will be having my sister pick some future TBRs as well. But let's just hop in. Let's hop into all the books. So I'll start with my 4 stars. I have 3 of them and then 2 5 stars. Okay, so the first 4-star book for me was Stalking, Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. I really enjoyed this book. So this is the first book in the series. I don't know what the name of the series is or if it even has a name, but I read this book during my 24-hour readathon challenge I gave to myself, and I really enjoyed it. It is a YA historical thriller type mystery book about this girl named Audrey, and it's set in the early 1900s, but this girl is very interested in forensic science and how the human body works. And she has this eccentric uncle who is training up students to follow in his footsteps, where they do autopsies and they follow clues and things like that. And she's very interested. Her father does not want her to be involved, and so she has to sneak to her uncle's, and then the cases start rolling in that have to do with Jack the Ripper. And so she's very involved, and she just does some classic 17-year-old risky things in order to try and solve the mystery, to prove herself as capable to be a part of kind of that world. I loved it. It was really fun. I love the mesh between high society as well as mystery thrillers, and the fact that she is so interested in science, a woman interested in science, was just a very fun aspect to the story, as well as her character. I felt like she had a feisty spirit, she was just trying to fight for what she believed in, but she wasn't over the top or anything like that, which can happen in YA characters. So yes, I highly enjoyed it. So much so that I went out and picked up my own copies, because this was my sister's, and so I picked up the whole set, and I actually ended up putting the second book in the series on my Historathon TBR, which I just posted a video about, and I'm so excited. So that should be read in November. So that was my first 4-star read. And the next one, oh, I really enjoyed this one as well. It's totally different. So I read Jade City by Fonda Lee. So this is the first book in the Green Bones Saga series, and it's very much an urban fantasy type series. It is very heavy in kind of the politics and almost gang warfare, where there's kind of 2 groups of people who are vying for the same territory, sorts of ideas. This story centers on this main city on this island where they are known for harvesting jade, and jade has been used for a long time as kind of the source of their power, of their magical power, that certain people, not all groups of people, but certain groups are able to be trained up to be green bone warriors, where they can use jade. They will wear it in bracelets or even embedded into their skin, and it gives them power. So it enhances their ability to run and jump and perceive things. So they're great warriors, basically. And so in this first book, you definitely feel a lot of the setup of the political system, just setup of trying to understand why they're fighting, what the history of this island is like, what the history of jade usage is like, why these clans pretty much hate each other at this point, and what happens, because there's definitely some things that happen in this book, but I do feel it sets more things up, like the magic of the jade as well as the political structure. And then things start happening, and there's some really intense moments, and I did appreciate that. I appreciated the kind of ebb and flow of the plot line as we were learning about this world and about how they use jade and things like that. So I really did enjoy it. I think I only gave it a 4-star because I'm not sure how much I love just a political fantasy. All right, so the last 4-star book that I read in October, I love. This is probably more like a 4.5 star, and it surprised me how invested I got in this book. So this is a romance, which is just really not my style, but My sister knew me well because it is about academics and it's about a PhD program, which I have my PhD in microbiology, so I resonated with a lot of the story. Obviously, not the crazy romance, but just the world of academia. So I loved that. And so it's called The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. It is about this girl named Olive, who is a third-year PhD student who has just dedicated her life to science. Her mom died at an early age due to cancer, and so it just kind of lit a fire in her to pursue science as a career, and she's just really good at it. But some circumstances happen early in this book that makes Olive want to convince her best friend that she's in a relationship, and so she starts fake dating a professor. It's not her advisor, it's just a professor in the department who is known for being just a jerk. And so all her friends are like, what are you doing? And so she's trying to keep this charade up for a variety of reasons. But I enjoyed a number of things about this book. First is the likability of the two main characters. I just found them endearing in so many different levels, and many of the scenes were very entertaining and just laugh out loud funny, the situations that they got themselves into. But also there was a little depth to the character of Olive that I just really enjoyed, because she definitely struggles with communication, so there's miscommunication in here. Romance, I feel like it has to have some miscommunication, but she definitely brings that to a bit of an extreme where you're just like, just talk to the guy, you know, you just want to strangle her, or at least I did. But what I did like about that in the end is I felt like as the book kind of wrapped up, you could feel some self-awareness of her, and I like the way she kind of landed all of that miscommunication. I mean, it's a very straightforward romance plot. I just found it very entertaining because it was fast moving, and I like the characters, and I like the setting of the college campus, and just the painting of the grad student world. It's so good. I just really enjoyed that. So yes, this was definitely a hit for me. 4.5 stars. Loved it. Okay, now to get to my 5-star books, which, you guys, I loved these books. Like, I'm even thinking they might end up on my end of year best of lists because I just love them so much, but for totally different reasons. So this first one, I've been talking a lot about on this channel. It was a part of that 24-hour reading vlog as well. And it is just a book that surprised me. This was the one that my sister put on here that I was a little unsure of. Like, I felt like it could have gone either way. I've heard of the book prior to her giving it to me, but I didn't know a ton about it. I knew it wasn't a recent release. I knew it was kind of more of a modern classic. And I knew it was one of the first dark academia type books. I just did not realize I would like it so much. And I think a lot of it comes down to characters and character work. But first, let me tell you what it's about. So it's about this group of students who are on this elite campus in New England, somewhere, I forget where, but they are studying under this classics professor, but in a way that's very unique. In other words, he is their only teacher. And so they come and they have all these discussions about like Greek philosophers and life and all these things. And they're very pretentious and they think very highly of themselves. But you know from the very first pages that one of them is going to die. And it is kind of haunting the main character. That's what you know from the beginning. And then the story goes back in time to tell the story, right? Which I love. And so you know this character is going to die. You know who it is. You know they're going to die. And then you spend the first half of the book anticipating that and having and like kind of playing out some of that as this main character of, what's his name, Richard, who's new to the group. He kind of just joins the group and you learn about the group through his eyes, really. You kind of assess what's going on. It's like, it's appealing, but kind of strange at the same time. Like, so this main character is very attracted to this group and is intrigued by them, but he also feels the fact that they're not quite right, or there's some things that are off about them. He just doesn't quite understand what, but he kind of really gets wrapped into their world. But what I loved is, so you know that character is going to be murdered, but it doesn't happen at the end of the book, which I loved. It happened kind of in the middle, and then the second part of the book, you walk through the aftermath of it. So I hope that doesn't give away too much, but I think for me, that was one of the things that I really enjoyed, because you already knew what was going to happen, and I just thought it was going to happen at the end, and it didn't. And then it had this whole new realm of like diving into the psyche of all the remaining group members and kind of what it did to them and what they're thinking and feeling and all these things surrounding the death of their friend. And I don't know why, I just found it so very interesting. I didn't necessarily like the characters. It's a lot of unlikable characters, but I also felt like a lot of the characters had the potential for redemption, if you will. So it was just a very enjoyable book. I mean, it's not a short book, and you spend a lot of time just trying to understand the characters and what happened, and trying to be like, wow, what would I do in these situations, or would I even get myself in this situation? Probably not, you know what I mean? So anyway, 5 stars. I loved it. I was so surprised how much I love this. So The Secret History by Donna Tartt, if I didn't say that, but 5 stars. All right, this brings me to the last book that I read this month that just, oh my gosh, I feel like it kind of crushed me. I'm so attached to these characters. And so that book is Morning Star by Pierce Brown. Okay, lots of people have heard of Red Rising. It's kind of a classic science fiction book, and Red Rising is about a man named Darrow who is part of a civilization on Mars. He's part of the red class, which is the lowest on the hierarchy of colors, where the golds are the highest and the reds are the lowest. And for many, many years, the reds believed that they had a very important job of mining a specific mineral that would help terraform or make Mars inhabitable. So they lived underground and they just worked in these mines, and it was a terrible, hard life. And Darrow lived that until he was like 16. And then some things happened that opened his eyes to the fact that that wasn't quite true. Some things happened to his wife that really propelled him to want to get back at the golds, to seek vengeance for the current system on Mars, or really just kind of in that solar system at large, because it's not just set on Mars as you go to the other books. But my gosh, that first book was amazing in just kind of how it set up Darrow's character, and he's very gray. There's some things he does that are just terrible, but there's other things where you can see some really redeeming characteristics in him. You can see how he's growing and developing. But as the books have gone on, because I read The Golden Sun a couple months ago and then Morning Star, this book, I feel like it just upped the ante, where it just was very much the climax to what Darrow starts in the very beginning. And it does it in a way that I just thought was amazing. I really appreciated it because all 3 of these books are told from the point of view of Darrow. So it's definitely a single POV. He has lots of characters around him. He has lots of friends around him. There's lots of things going on, but it's all told through Darrow's eyes. And what I liked about this book, because it is still through Darrow, but he definitely has developed a lot of relationships, and there's things around him that weren't there at the beginning that I just really liked, and there's some characters in here that I just loved. But there was a part in this book, I think it was like 70 pages from the end, where I literally wanted to chuck the book across the room because I was just so mad. I was so mad at what happened to certain characters that I just loved. I was so invested in these characters that I was just so very upset as to what had happened that I almost couldn't finish the book. I almost was just like, I can't handle this anymore. It is just too brutal. There's too many things that happen. The author, Pierce Brown, just does not pull punches. He very much made me attached to the characters. I was very attached to all the characters. And then I felt like, it just felt like it's stripping them away in different ways. And I don't want to give away too much, but I was so mad. But my sister encouraged me to just keep going. And I did, and I loved it. And I won't say anymore because I really just loved it, because I just, looking back on the whole series, it made me appreciate the series even more. I know there's like a second whole set of books that take place like 10 years after this one finishes up that I will get. I'm just not emotionally ready to pick it up yet. It kind of reminds me of how emotionally invested I got in the Fitz character in the Robin Hobb books. It's like that, where I'm just like, just love his character, but I'm just sometimes so mad at his character. And that's the way I was feeling at that point in this book. And it just really is a testament to how well the book is written, that I am very much invested, so very invested in the characters in this book. And so if you've at all been interested in these books, I really liked them. I didn't feel like they were overly science fiction-y. There was definitely some space battle type things, which I don't read science fiction, so I don't even know how to describe things in science fictions, but I felt like it was a very approachable science fiction book, especially if you are a character-driven reader. I loved it. 5 stars. Loved it, loved it. So these are the books I read, and I mean, I know it's only 5 books, 5 books is a decent amount for me. I feel like I'm more of a 4 to 5 book a month reader, but I usually don't read this many awesome books. There was only one book on the TBR that my sister set for me that I wasn't able to get to. I mean, I had a couple days at the end of October where I could have picked it up, but it was the 3rd book in the Live Ship Trader series by Robin Hobb, and it's like 800 pages, and I knew if I picked it up I would need to keep reading it in November, and I really want to dedicate the month to reading as much historical fiction as I can. So I just didn't read it. I actually picked up The Witch Haven, which is what I'm kind of in the middle of right now, and I'll let you know what I think about that next month. But honestly, October was amazing. It wasn't necessarily like a spooky season type TBR, but it was perfect, exactly what I needed for this October, and I just loved it. So let me know down below what you guys read for October. Did you have any new favorites, kind of end of the year favorites that you didn't expect? Let me know down below. I would love to hear about it. And otherwise, guys, like the video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to. And I will see you guys in the next book video. All right, take care.